Where no one saw value, life planted a seed. Kaio had made more mistakes than he cared to count. At just 23, he was serving a sentence in freedom, freedom with conditions. His past was heavy: theft, rebellion, abandonment. The court had assigned him community service, and so he found himself pushing a mop through the long hallways of the Santa Clara nursing home. He didn't speak, didn't smile, just did his work and left. That is, until he met room 23. That room was home to Mrs. Amelia, 83 years old, frail, sharp-tongued and deeply bitter, widowed for over 2 decades, estranged from her only daughter and forgotten by time. She spent her days listening to the radio and reading old letters stored in a wooden box. No visitors, no laughter, just silence and sighs. The day Kaio mopped near her door for the first time, she glared at him. "Watch where you splash that thing," she barked, not even looking up. He rolled his eyes and muttered something under his breath. But the next day, he was back. And so was she. Their first real conversation, a fight over the TV remote in the common room. "Young people think they own the world," she grumbled, "and old people think they own what's left of it," he shot back. That day, something cracked. Not a smile, not yet, but a crack, a chip in the walls they both had built. From that moment on, they began exchanging more than insults. Sarcastic comments turned into curiosity, glances turned into questions, and questions, slowly, became conversations. Two souls, one forgotten and one condemned, began to realize they had more in common than anyone would believe. What no one expected was how far this friendship would go, or how deeply it would change them both. Chapter 1. The Box of Letters. The days passed, and what had begun as irritation turned into something resembling care. Kaio began staying a few minutes longer in room 23, even when his work was done. He'd sit on the armchair by the window while Mrs. Amelia read from the newspaper or criticized the news anchors. Sometimes she even laughed, though she'd deny it if asked. One rainy afternoon, the power went out. In the dim room, Kaio noticed the wooden box on the dresser. "What's that?" he asked. "Memories I shouldn't keep," she replied dryly. He walked over and opened it without asking. Inside were dozens of letters, aged and yellowed, some unopened, most unread. "They're from my daughter," she said, her voice suddenly soft. "You don't read them." "I read the first 10. They were filled with anger. I assumed the rest were the same." Kaio sat on the floor and with a kind of reverence began opening them, one by one, letter after letter, but they weren't angry. They were apologies, plea after plea for a reunion, for a chance to reconnect. Letters written on birthdays, holidays, anniversaries. Letters she never had the courage to read. Mrs. Amelia's hands trembled. "All these years," she whispered, "I thought she hated me." "You never even gave her the chance to show otherwise," Kaio said, not harshly, but with the painful honesty of someone who knew what it meant to be shut out. He left the box open that night, and for the first time in decades, Mrs. Amelia cried. From that day forward, something shifted between them. He began calling her Donna, a sign of affection and respect. She began saving a spot for him during lunch breaks. They talked about everything, his rough childhood, her regrets, their fears. Kaio admitted he hadn't spoken to his mother in 5 years, that the last thing he'd said to her was, "I wish I was never born." Mrs. Amelia didn't scold him. She just handed him a pen and a piece of paper. "Then write her something better," she said. So he did, and she corrected every line. Chapter 2. The Final Letter. It was a rare sunny morning. Kaio walked into the nursing home with a wrapped gift, a vintage edition of The Little Prince he'd found at a second-hand store. He thought it matched Mrs. Amelia, small on the quai. Outside, enormous on the inside, but room 23 was empty, the bed was made, the chair untouched, the radio silent. She was taken to the hospital last night. "Trouble breathing," said a nurse casually. Kaio's heart sank. He returned to the room and sat in her chair, staring at the wooden box. Inside, the same letters, but now one more, this time addressed to him. Kaio. He opened it. My dear friend, if you're reading this, time has outrun me, but don't be sad. I'm not. For the first time in years, I feel peace, and that has everything to do with you. You came in like someone who didn't want to stay, but you stayed, like someone who was never meant to leave. I saw in you what no one else did, a wounded boy behind a tough shell. And you saw in me more than a bitter old woman. You saw someone trying to survive the weight of memories. Life brought us together, for a reason. Maybe so I wouldn't leave this world thinking everything was meaningless. Maybe so you'd remember you're more than the label they gave you. Don't stop. Don't give up. Apologize to your mother. Find her. But most of all, forgive yourself. You gave me hope. I hope I gave you a little faith. With love, Amelia. Tears streamed down his face. For the first time, Kaio cried not from pain, but from love. Later, he begged to visit her at the hospital. At first, they refused, but the desperation in his voice convinced them. She was unconscious, fragile, breathing with machines. He held her hand and whispered, "You saved me, and now it's my turn." She died the next morning, quietly, but not alone. A week later, Kaio was summoned to the director's office. The lawyer read her last will. I leave everything I own to Caio Henrique da Silva. The grandson life never gave me, but my heart chose. Then came the final surprise. The letter Caio wrote to his mother, the one Mrs. Amelia helped him write, had been accidentally mailed to the right address. His mother came to the nursing home the day before Amelia passed, asking to see him, and now she sat in the lobby, waiting. He saw her, frozen at first, then slowly he walked over and hugged her. No words, just everything that needed to be felt. Reflection. Some people enter our lives as bridges. They don't stay forever, but they help us cross parts of ourselves we couldn't face alone. Amelia and Caio were from different worlds, but they met at the exact point where pain becomes learning and silence becomes healing. Their friendship proved that connection doesn't care about age, past mistakes, or appearances. And in the end, what truly saves us is being seen by someone. Enjoyed this story? Then subscribe to the Golden Words channel so you won't miss any others. Every day, we bring you touching and emotional stories. Leave a comment with the city and country you're listening from. Let's spread these stories worldwide.